Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The NFL trade deadline always brings chaos, rumors, and a flurry of last-minute moves that can completely change the landscape of the league. And this year, the Miami Dolphins have been right in the center of that storm. First, they shocked the football world by dealing away Jaelan Phillips, one of their most promising young defensive stars. And now, all eyes have shifted to another big name in South Beach, Jalen Waddle. Yeah, that's right, Jalen Waddle, the electric wide receiver who has been one of the most dynamic playmakers in the league since the moment he stepped on an NFL field. Reports started swirling that several teams have been calling the Dolphins to ask about Waddle's availability, and while those calls were expected, the fact that Miami hasn't hung up the phone immediately has fans and insiders buzzing about what could be next. Under previous general manager Chris Grier, trading Jalen Waddle would have been unthinkable. Waddle has been one of the key building blocks of this offense, a guy drafted to complement Tyreek Hill and give Miami the fastest wide receiver duo in football. But things have changed quickly. With Grier gone and interim GM Champ Kelly stepping in, there's a sense that nothing is off the table. Kelly already made his first bold move by parting ways with Phillips, and now, according to reports, he's at least considering the idea of listening to offers for Waddle. That doesn't mean he's desperate to move him. Far from it. But when a new GM takes over, every roster spot gets reevaluated, and every contract gets another look. So naturally, other teams around the league smell an opportunity. And oh boy, those suitors are lining up. The Philadelphia Eagles, a team that's been incredibly aggressive during the trade deadline in recent years, are making noise again. There's buzz that they're exploring every avenue to bolster their offense for another Super Bowl run, and adding someone like Jalen Waddle to a lineup that already features A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith would be terrifying for opposing defenses. But as much as the Eagles love making splashy moves, this one would come at a massive price. CBS Sports' Jonathan Jones reported that any deal for Waddle would cost a first-round pick, and then some. That, and then some, could mean another early pick or a high-level player. Maybe even both. And with the kind of cap commitment that comes with acquiring Waddle, it's clear only a true contender with cap flexibility and a win-now mindset could even think about making it happen. The Steelers have also been mentioned as a potential suitor. Pittsburgh has been searching for consistent offensive production all season long. George Pickens has flashed superstar potential, but the offense has lacked balance and explosiveness. Adding Jalen Waddle would immediately change that dynamic. The issue, however, is cost, both in terms of draft picks and salary. The Steelers aren't usually the type of franchise that gives up first-round picks for wide receivers. Historically, they've preferred to draft and develop their own, and with head coach Mike Tomlin focusing on building a young core, it seems unlikely that Pittsburgh would sell off premium draft capital for one player, no matter how talented he is. Then there's Buffalo. The Bills are another team rumored to be in the wide receiver market, especially after a few inconsistent weeks on offense. Stephon Diggs has been vocal about wanting more help, and the team could use another elite weapon to take pressure off Josh Allen. But again, the same problem applies: money and picks. Buffalo could find it easier to pursue a short-term rental like Jacoby Myers or Rashid Shaheed, as reports suggest. Those guys come cheaper, both financially and in trade compensation. Waddle, on the other hand, is a long-term commitment. He's under contract through 2028, and that contract isn't small. It's structured with multiple vesting dates for bonuses and options every year, making it a complex deal for most teams to absorb mid-season. That's why, as much as the rumors are flying, most insiders still believe Waddle isn't going anywhere. Miami knows what it has in him. Waddle has topped 1,000 yards in each of his first 3 seasons, and even this year, with Tyreek Hill sidelined for the remainder of the campaign, he's continued to shine as the focal point of the Dolphins' offense. He's averaging 14.3 yards per catch in 2025, the second highest total of his career, and his chemistry with Tua Tagovailoa is undeniable. The two go all the way back to their days at Alabama, where they lit up defenses every Saturday. That connection is part of what makes Miami's offense so dangerous, and why trading Waddle would be such a massive gamble. Let's be honest, the Dolphins are in a strange spot. They started the season as one of the AFC favorites, boasting one of the most explosive offenses in football. But injuries, inconsistency, and defensive struggles have knocked them down a peg. Losing Tyreek Hill was a massive blow, and if the front office really is thinking about reshaping the roster, it has to do so carefully. Waddle is only 26 years old and entering the prime of his career. He's not just a burner. He's developed into a complete receiver who can run the full route tree, make contested catches, and pick up yards after the catch with ease. In other words, he's the kind of player you build around, not trade away. Of course, from the front office's perspective, every player has a price. That's the reality of the modern NFL. If a team comes calling with a first-round pick and additional assets, Miami has to at least listen. The Dolphins' cap situation isn't terrible, but with multiple big contracts already on the books, including Tua's looming extension, flexibility will be key. Moving Waddle could, in theory, give them the kind of draft capital and financial breathing room to reload quickly. But that's also the kind of move that can backfire badly if not handled right. Just ask teams like the Titans after they traded A.J. Brown. They're still feeling the effects of that decision. What's fascinating is how the locker room is handling all this. Reports out of Miami suggest that players were shocked by the Phillips trade, and the Waddle rumors have added to the tension. Waddle himself hasn't spoken much publicly, but teammates have described him as focused and professional, blocking out the noise. Head coach Mike McDaniel, who's known for his close relationship with his players, has been adamant that Waddle is a core piece of the team's future. Still, when a front office shift happens mid-season, the head coach's influence can only go so far. McDaniel has to keep his guys locked in while also knowing that the roster might look different tomorrow. If there's one thing that's clear, it's that the Dolphins aren't going to give Waddle away. This isn't a fire sale. If he's traded, it'll be because someone made an offer too good to refuse. But most signs point to Miami holding firm. The risk of losing a cornerstone player like Waddle far outweighs the benefit of adding draft picks, especially with the team still in playoff contention. The AFC is wide open this year. If Miami can stay healthy and find some defensive rhythm, they can still make noise down the stretch. And if they do, Waddle will almost certainly be a big part of it. Think about what that offense looks like when it's firing on all cylinders. Tua distributing quick strikes, Waddle turning short passes into long gains, and McDaniel scheming up creative plays that get his stars in space. Even without Hill, that's a nightmare for defenses. Trading Waddle now would be like taking the engine out of a race car and hoping the tires can carry the load. It just doesn't make sense from a competitive standpoint. So yes, the phone lines are open. Yes, teams are asking. And yes, the Dolphins are at least listening. But unless something absolutely wild happens before the deadline, Jalen Waddle isn't going anywhere. He's too talented, too important, and too connected to the heart of this team's identity. Miami fans can exhale, for now. The Waddle dance isn't leaving South Beach anytime soon. But make no mistake, this entire situation shows just how unpredictable the NFL can be. One week you're the future of a franchise, the next week your name is in trade rumors. That's the reality of the business, and for Jalen Waddle, it's another test of patience, professionalism, and perseverance. And here's the kicker. Even though it's unlikely today, the door is technically open. That's what keeps the story alive. As long as that phrase lingers, the door is open. You can bet that teams will keep calling. Because let's face it, players like Jalen Waddle don't hit the trade market often. They're rare. They're game changers. And while the odds are slim, if someone decides to pay that premium price, the league could be looking at one of the biggest mid-season blockbusters in years. But for now, Waddle remains a Dolphin, and Miami's message is clear. It'll take more than a few phone calls to pry away their star. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? The NFL world is buzzing today, and if you thought the offseason was quiet, think again, because the latest rumor, which, trust me, feels like it could break the internet any second, is nothing short of seismic. Derrick Henry, yes, the Tennessee Titans' unstoppable, bruising running back, has allegedly agreed to terms with the Miami Dolphins. Can you even picture it? The sheer image of Derrick Henry, towering, powerful, and relentless, stepping onto Hard Rock Stadium, now clad in aqua and orange, sending chills down the spines of defenders across the league, is already enough to ignite conversations that will dominate sports bars, Twitter feeds, and fantasy football forums for weeks. Sources close to the situation hint that the deal is not just about money. It's about making a statement. Derrick Henry, the king, apparently wants to show the world that the best back in football history isn't just a one-team phenomenon. He can dominate anywhere, especially under the new offensive regime crafted by none other than Mike McDaniel. Imagine the scene. Henry jogging onto the field in Miami, the sun blazing down, the fans roaring in anticipation, and every cornerback and linebacker staring at a human freight train dressed in the Dolphins' colors. The talk among insiders is that Derrick Henry isn't just coming to play, he's coming with a mission. There's already chatter that he's targeting 2,000 rushing yards in McDaniel's offense. That's right, 2,000 yards, a feat so monumental that even the mere suggestion sends shivers through defensive coordinators nationwide. McDaniel, known for his innovative scheme and ability to get the most out of dynamic athletes, reportedly sees Henry as the centerpiece, the ultimate weapon to elevate the Dolphins to a level that has been tantalizingly close but never quite reached. And honestly, if you've watched Henry in his prime, barreling through defenders with that terrifying combination of speed and power, it doesn't take much imagination to see him carving up defenses in aqua and orange like a man possessed. What makes this rumor even juicier is the timing. The NFL offseason has been relatively subdued, but whispers indicate that the Dolphins' front office has been quietly working behind the scenes to land Henry, orchestrating a deal that could redefine the AFC East and perhaps the entire league. Some say this isn't just a football move, it's a psychological one. Miami wants to signal to every team that the Dolphins are no longer content with being the middle-of-the-pack story. By acquiring a player of Henry's magnitude, they're essentially declaring war on the status quo, challenging the Patriots, Bills, and Jets in a way that forces them to rethink their defensive strategies before the season even begins. And from what insiders hint, Henry himself is thrilled by the challenge. There's a sense that he sees Miami not just as a new team, but as a stage for legacy-defining performance, a place to cement his name among the all-time greats. The mere thought of him dominating in tropical heat, running behind McDaniel's creative blocking schemes, has already set social media ablaze with speculation, memes, and mock highlight reels. Now, let's talk logistics, or at least what's being whispered in the corridors of NFL power. The rumor mill suggests that Henry's contract is designed to reward performance, not just presence. There are murmurs about incentives tied to rushing yardage and touchdowns, with bonus structures that could make even the most seasoned NFL agents sit up and take notice. The idea is simple. If Henry hits the monstrous numbers everyone expects, the payday grows exponentially. It's a statement, a gamble, and a declaration all at once. But beyond the numbers, this move could shift the narrative of Miami's offense completely. Under McDaniel, the Dolphins have flirted with explosive plays and creative schemes, but the addition of Henry transforms them from a team with potential into a juggernaut. The thought of defenses trying to account for Tyreek Hill's lightning speed while simultaneously bracing for Henry's raw, unstoppable force is enough to make coordinators break into cold sweats just thinking about the first game of the season. And the fans? Oh, the fans are losing their minds. Imagine the scene at Hard Rock Stadium when Henry steps out in the aqua and orange, the stadium erupting in unison, chants echoing across the South Florida heat, while every opposing fan watching on TV silently acknowledges that this is not a drill. Some insiders hint that season ticket sales are already spiking, that merchandise with Henry's number is flying off the shelves, and that social media is saturated with graphics, rumors, and speculative highlight reels showing the unstoppable Henry tearing through defenses. There's even talk among die-hard fantasy football enthusiasts that this single acquisition could redefine draft boards, making Henry a first-round lock across virtually every format. The ripple effects of a player of his caliber joining Miami could impact not just the Dolphins but the entire league, altering strategies, forcing trade considerations, and reshaping perceptions of what a dominant running game looks like in the modern NFL era. Of course, this being a rumor, nothing is 100% confirmed yet, but the buzz is too loud to ignore. From anonymous sources in locker rooms to the subtle hints dropped by analysts who happen to know someone, the story keeps building momentum, evolving into a narrative that feels almost inevitable. Every headline, every tweet, every forum post seems to carry the same undertone. Derrick Henry in Miami could be the defining football story of the year. And why not? This is a player who has consistently defied expectations, who has carried Titans' offenses on his back, and now seemingly wants to do it in Miami. The combination of Henry's physicality and McDaniel's strategic mind is the perfect storm, a scenario so tantalizing that even casual fans are pausing their daily routines to imagine the carnage that awaits opposing defenses. And let's not overlook the cultural implications. Derrick Henry in Miami isn't just about football. It's about star power, marketability, and creating a narrative that extends far beyond the gridiron. The Dolphins are already being talked about as a must-watch team next season, with Henry's presence amplifying every story, every game, every highlight. From television ratings to sponsorship deals, the potential impact is staggering. People are whispering about Derrick Henry Week, imagining highlight reels of him bulldozing through defenses under the bright Miami sun, and social media campaigns are ready to explode with hashtags, memes, and countdowns to the season opener. The ripple effect of this one rumor is already shaping the league's conversation, and if even a fraction of it turns out to be true, we could be witnessing a historic moment in NFL history. A superstar running back taking on a new frontier, redefining his legacy while elevating a team to previously unimaginable heights. So, while nothing is officially announced yet, the speculation is nearly palpable. Imagine Mike McDaniel, headset on, plotting how to unleash Henry in ways that leave defenses helpless, while Henry himself visualizes running past linebackers, shrugging off tackles, and inching ever closer to that mythical 2,000-yard mark. The buzz is electric, almost tangible, and every insider interview or subtle hint adds fuel to the fire. One thing is clear, whether this rumor solidifies into a blockbuster signing or not, the mere idea of Derrick Henry in aqua and orange has already captured the imagination of football fans worldwide. It's bold, it's audacious, and it's exactly the kind of story that reminds us why we love this game. The unexpected, the monumental, the spectacle of greatness stepping onto a new stage. And in the case of Derrick Henry potentially joining the Dolphins, greatness isn't just stepping onto a new stage. It's bringing the entire stadium, the city, and the league along for the ride. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.